Hi, this is section 10.1 on percent. So we'll be looking at percents and applications to that. So for this example, it says convert the following fractions to a percent. Divide the numerator by the denominator. All right, the numerator is the top number, the denominator is the bottom number. Multiply the decimal number by 100. And then you add a percent sign. That's how you convert your answer to a percent. You multiply the number by 100, and then you add the percent symbol. So let's try this out. If you do 67 divided by 100, that's going to move the decimal over 2 spaces to the left, which will give you 0.67. Then we multiply by 100, and that's going to be 67. And then you add the percent sign at the end. All right, next one. 11 divided by 22 is 0.55, I believe. I'm sorry, by 20. Yeah, that is 0.55. And of course, we multiply by 100, and that gives you 55. Add the percent sign. That is our final answer. All right, for the next one, we have 15 divided by 6, which if you do that on your calculator, you will get 0.9375. Multiply that by 100, and that gives us 93.75. And you add the percent sign. All right, those are the following answers. All right, let's highlight them. Perfect. Moving on. Convert the following decimal numbers to a percent. Step 1 is to multiply the decimal by 100. Or move the decimal point 2 units to the right. Then you add a percent sign. All right, so once again, we multiply by 100, or you just move the decimal 2 spaces to the left, and that gives you 15. Add the percent sign. All right, next one, multiply by 100, move the decimal 2 spaces to the right, 75.6, add the percent sign. And last one, multiply by 100, that's 223.9%. All right, now we're moving on. Convert the following percents to a decimal. So we're going to do the opposite of multiply, which is to divide by 100, or move the decimal point 2 units to the left. That's the opposite of right, is left. And then we remove the percent sign. So let's do that. If you divide by 100, you're going to get 0.35, and you remove the percent sign. All right, I forgot to highlight these answers. All right, we'll highlight this answer. All right, the next one is, if you divide by 100, you're going to move the decimal 2 spaces to the left, which is 0.698. That is your final answer. Next one is going to be, well, I would recommend that you convert that to a decimal. It'll make it easier. So 1/2 is 0.5. You still have the percent sign. But then when you divide by 100, you're going to move the decimal 2 spaces to the left. And that's going to be 1, 2. So you're going to have a decimal and then 2 zeros after. A decimal, 2 zeros after. That is the final answer. So when it comes to fractions, I highly recommend that you convert the fraction into a decimal first, then you divide by 100, or move the decimal 2 spaces to the left, and that is the final answer. All right, so if you do this 5 divided by 8 on your calculator, you should get 0.625. If you multiply by 100 to convert to a percent, that's going to move the decimal 2 spaces to the left. That'll be 62.5%. All right, this one, you multiply by 100, moves the decimal 2 spaces to the right. That's 45%. For this one, it's easier to work with this. If you move the decimal 2 spaces to the left, that gives you the decimal. So that would be 0.25. Or alternatively, you could have done this on your calculator. 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. All right, for this one, I would recommend that you do 3 divided by 4, which is 0.75. So that's the same thing as 2.75. And if you multiply by 100, that'll move the decimal 2 spaces to the right. 275 would be our final answer for that. All right, so we filled out the entire chart. All right, moving on. Now we're getting into applications. So let's look at this first application. It says, out of 3,496 people who responded, 1017 said that the age of 80 is old. What percent of respondents believe that 80 is old? So we need to find the decimal first. The ratio is 1017 out of 496 think that 80 is old. So if you do that, convert that to a decimal on your calculators, you will get, we're going to round this because it's a long decimal, so we'll say approximately 0.2909. That's good enough. And if we want to convert that to a percent, you multiply by 100, which is moving the decimal place over 2 spaces to the right, gives us 29.09. And don't forget to add the percent sign. Okay. The next one says percent change. The percent increase or decrease over a period of time is determined by the following formula. So let's give you the formula. So the formula is going to be the amount in the latest period, we'll call it, minus the amount in the previous period, divided by the amount in the previous period. So that is the formula. And then you would multiply by 100%, or 100, and then you add the percent symbol. So let's take a look at the very first example. It says Team A won 51 games in 2004 and 77 games in 2005. Find the percent increase in the number of games won by the Team A from 2004 to 2005. So the amount of games that the team won in the latest period would be 77. So that would be the first number that we add in the numerator, minus the amount of games won in the previous period. This would be prior to 2005. That's 51. And then divided by the same thing, the amount in the previous period, which is 51. Then we multiply that by 100, and then we add our percent symbol. So this is going to be approximately, let's find out, 77 minus 51, 26 divided by 51. That's going to be about, I'm just going to go ahead and keep that number in my calculator and then just type times 100, which is finally going to give me 50.98%. All right, so 50.98% is the percent increase in games won. All right. Number 7, the population of a small mountain town increased from 840, I think they meant to say 882. So I'm just going to change that word "and" to 2. What was the percent of increase? So once again, we do the latest number minus the prior number divided by the prior number. All right, and so don't forget to multiply by 100 like I almost did. And that will do it. Let's see what we end up getting. 882 minus 840 divided by 840. I'm getting 0.05. Actually, that's equal, not approximately. But after you multiply by 100, that's going to move the decimal 2 spaces, so you should end up with 5%. So it's a 5% increase, going from 840 to 882. All right, the next example says, in 2002, sales were 2,475,000. In 2003, the sales dropped to 1,950,000. What is the percent decrease? So this time our number should be negative because it's a decrease instead of an increase. So the amount in the latest sales was smaller than the amount in the previous sales. So it's going to be a smaller number minus a bigger number, and that's why you get the negative number. Divided by the previous amount, which is 2,475,000. All right, so let's do that times 100, and let's see what we end up getting. So okay, I'm getting negative 21.21212. It's a repeating decimal, so I'm just going to say approximately, because I'm going to round. And then multiply by 100, that's going to move the decimal 2 spaces to the right, so negative 21.2%. So that is the answer. So it means that there was a 21.2% decrease. So a negative means that the percent decreased, and a positive means that the percent increased. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Number 8 says, the average price of gasoline, which is very relevant to our lives today, from $3.46 to $3.83 in 5 months. What was the percent increase in the price of gasoline? All right, so the latest amount is $3.83. The previous amount was $3.46, and we divide by the previous amount. Multiply by 100. Let's see what this turns out to be. I'm getting an approximation again, but after I'm just going to round to 1 decimal, 2 decimal places is fine. Approximately 10.69. All right, so that was a percent increase in gas prices. Today it's much higher. All right, Yolanda's present salary is $36,500. She is getting an increase of 7% in her next salary year. What will her new salary be? Can you think of a way to solve this problem using the formula? All right, so this is a bit of a challenge. So let's see. All right, so let's think about this. So she is currently making $36,500. If she's going to get an increase of 7%, let's see what that amount is. So you multiply by 0.07, that's 7%. And you should get 25,000. I'm sorry, I think I added an extra 0. Yeah, I did. Added an extra 0, so it should be 2,555 increase. So that's the amount of increase. All right. So if you were to add that, you're going to get, let's add that to the previous amount that she used to make. So we should end up with the new amount. All right. And so there you go. That is her new salary. All right. Moving on. Let's see what the next problem is. So now they talk about percent markup and markdown. So here's the formula that for markup and markdown. So it's going to be the selling price of an object minus the dealer's cost divided by the dealer's cost. So it's got the same kind of format that the previous formula had, and of course you're going to multiply 100 again to convert it to a percentage. All right, so a store B pays $48.79 for the doors. It regularly sells them for $79.88. Find the percent markup on the regular price. All right, so the markup price is going to look like this. it's going to be the selling price, which is $79.88, minus the cost, the dealer's cost, because the store pays $48.79, so that's the cost that they pay, divided by the cost that they pay again, times 100. Let's see what that turns out to be, and we'll round to 2 decimal places, because we want to round to the nearest cent. I'm going to get, after I multiply by 100, $63.72. I'm sorry, not cents, percent. 63.72% markup. That's more than double. More than half. All right. And the last problem looks like this. To get rid of its remaining 2010 calendars, Cardin's Pharmacy reduces the price to $4. If Cardin's cost per calendar was $5, determine the percent markdown on the calendars. So this is this was not a price. This is a markup percent. So this would be a markdown percent. All right, so we start with the selling price, which is now $4, minus the cost that they paid for, over the cost that they paid for again, times 100. Let's see what this turns out to be. This is going to be negative 20%. So that means that there was a 20% markdown in price. All right, and that is the end of this section.